Run, river, run, run through the hills. Run, river, run to the sea. Run, river, run to your place beneath the sun. Run, river, run over me.
Hi, this is Jan Lewis. Welcome to Be My Guest. Today we have an author, Tabitha Lord, with us. She has written Horizon, and it's a sci-fi trilogy. So all you sci-fi fans out there, listen up. This looks really, really good. 3 of them. This is the first one. Welcome, Tabitha.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
Where did you do your cover?
No, I have an amazing cover artist. He's actually out of the UK. His name is Stephen Meyer Rasso, and he did all 3 books and just did a lovely job branding them. And he's amazing. He does cover art for books, games, video games, and I got him, I think, at the launching of his own
Did a great
career,
job.
and he did a great job.
Now, is this the same picture on all of them?
It's not exactly the same. I can show you this
Hold
one.
up that one. That's number 2, right?
That's number 2.
That's called Infinity.
Infinity, and then we have number 3. So you can see they're similar,
Equinox.
and they're branded.
Yeah.
You know, but they are a little bit different, each one. So that's the end. The 3rd one is the final installment.
When did you start writing this?
I started writing in 2015. That one in 2015. I actually worked in education for 15 years. So I was the admissions director and Latin teacher at a small private Waldorf school, and we were coming up on our accreditation, and we needed to go through that process. And that's a big year-long project where you do a self-study, and then you write to the standards, and then you have a committee come in and visit your school, and I led that project. And so I did the report writing, and I called it my thesis, about 100 pages by the time you're finished. And so that special year I was able to have my schedule a little bit flexible, and I was writing every day. I would be meeting with people, I'd be doing research, and I'd be synthesizing it all together, and I had this habit of writing. And my husband always said, why not write a book? Why not? I was like, you think it's so easy, right?
You got 4 children.
And 4 kids, and they were all living at home at the time, and I was working full time.
Oh.
And I said, you know what, though? I am in this habit. I am in this discipline of writing every day for work. Why don't I just take an hour at night and try to see what I can put together from a fiction standpoint? And the manuscript for Horizon was born, and it took 9 months. And as a mom of 4, that doesn't escape me. The fact that it's like I birthed a book.
What drew you to sci-fi?
I've always been a sci-fi fan. I saw Star Wars when I was 7 with my dad on the big screen, and it just changed my. It changed my world. It changed how I played, how I imagined the cosmos. My interests were in the stars. I just always did. And so when I'm going to write my first book, I want to play on that. Yeah. I want to play on that scale.
So this is a trilogy.
It's a trilogy.
And it stops with the 3rd one.
It does stop with the 3rd one.
This is the first one,
yes.
Horizon. Go ahead downstairs in the Upton Library, and you'll be able to look at the exhibit of these books and borrow one. Tabitha, how do they get a copy? How do they talk with you?
They're on every platform. So you can order them off Amazon, Barnes & Noble. They're audio, ebook, and print. So
And if someone would like to, you have an agent, but if someone would like to have you come speak, how would they reach?
My website is tabithalordauthor.com, and on there you can reach me through my email. My regular email is tlordauthor@icloud.com, so I'm not too creative with this, but that's easier. And people can certainly reach me.
And I think Tanya is your agent. Tanya?
No, her name is Rebecca.
Rebecca, okay.
All
right.
This is
Rebecca. Tanya.
But I do my own bookings for speaking engagements and things like that.
Where do you live now?
I live in Rhode Island, in North Kingstown, Rhode Island.
North Kingstown. I have been down there. Warwick. I lived in Providence for a while. It's nice. It's nice territory down there. West Greenwich, East Greenwich.
Yes.
And East Greenwich, that's where you are, right?
I'm one town south.
Okay. There is, I think, I went to a wedding at a Unitarian church down there.
There's a beautiful Unitarian church in East Greenwich, yes.
Okay, that must be where it was.
Yeah,
there's
a lovely Unitarian church there.
So you said you went to, I can't think of it, Holy Cross.
Holy Cross, right here in Worcester.
What did you major in?
I was a classics major, so Latin and Greek, and then I doubled in Spanish, so I was a language person. And then when I graduated, I had a couple kids, and I decided I wanted to go to medical school. And so I went back to Providence College and did 2 years of sciences. And I almost switched out of the pre-med and into astronomy, believe it or not, when I was doing the sciences. But I said, no, I think medicine is the way to go. But once I got to medical school, I already, like I said, had 2 children. I thought, what am I doing? I didn't feel like I was doing anything well. I wasn't a good mom. I wasn't a good student. I wasn't a good wife. I couldn't focus all of my attention on any one thing, and these were all big things I was trying to do in my mid-20s. So I left medical school and just went into education. So I was the admissions director at a Waldorf school, and I loved that career in education.
Yeah.
But then as my children started to get older, I thought, what is it that I want to do next? When the space started to open up creatively, and that's when I took advantage of that opportunity to write the book. And
Did you go to UMass Medical School?
No, I went to Boston University.
BU, okay.
Yeah, I went to
over
BU.
there.
Yep.
You didn't stick around, but
No,
I understand that. You're like me, kind of a serial entrepreneur. Oh, I relate to that. What did you think you were going to focus on if you'd become a doctor?
I had been a paramedic. I'd gotten my EMT and then medic license during college. So I had volunteered on different rescue teams.
Yeah.
So I loved that. So I really thought emergency medicine, but then I worked in Hasbro Children's Hospital as an ER tech for a couple of years too. So I thought either emergency medicine or intensive care, like pediatric intensive care.
Yeah, into ICU, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I still, there's a parallel part of me that thinks, oh, it would have been a cool life, and I really I was passionate about medicine, but I also I had 2 more children. I don't think I would have ever had those 2 kids.
Sure.
I had this career in education that I really was passionate about, and now I get to write, and that's what I do.
Look how far you've come.
Right.
When you graduated from high school, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Rhode Island, so I went to Cranston West.
So you graduated high school. Did you know immediately you were going to go to Holy Cross?
Yes, I did.
You knew then? Okay.
Yes.
You know Clark?
I do.
My grandfather graduated there. He took Latin, he majored in economics. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's quite a school.
Yes. Well,
really.
It's part of the consortium, the Worcester Consortium of Schools. Clark, WPI, and Holy Cross, I think, are in a little consortium. You can take classes at any one of them.
Becker is, I guess, no more, huh?
I
think I heard that they decided to close. That's a shame.
It is a shame.
Golly. So we are talking with Tabitha Lord. She is the author of Sci Fi Trilogy. Horizon is the first, and she has 2 more. What's coming up? Anything new?
So I actually have a completed manuscript that my agent and I are going back and forth with final edits, and hopefully that will go out on submission, before spring really rolls into being. But we'll see. It takes how long it takes, And I'm really a firm believer that it's not ready until my agent says it's ready. So I will keep working on it until it is. But it's a bit of a departure. It's still speculative fiction, but it's urban fantasy. So it's like this gritty. Think about Batman and those sorts of things are the original urban fantasies. There's a tiny bit of supernatural in there.
Yeah.
And there's also this sort of like crime thriller piece and sort of edgy characters and anti-heroes. And so that's what I've got.
But it's almost done, right?
Oh, it's the manuscript is completed. It's been edited 6
What's the title?
million times. It's called Dreamwalker.
Dreamwalker. So it's a bit of a fantasy.
Yes.
It's not sci-fi.
Nope. But it's speculative. So
speculative.
Yeah, speculative.
What might happen? What could happen?
Well, in terms of publishing or in terms of what's going on, what's
the whole story?
Premise? The story is the premise is my main character is an assassin, but she only kills bad people, and she does it in your sleep.
In her
so
sleep.
She's a dreamwalker.
This sounds really.
It's
really
pretty
good.
cool.
You better let me know, okay? We better get back on again. So I don't meet many, hardly any women sci-fi authors.
Right.
Were you at the, I think it was in December, do you go to the annual expo?
I do. Yep, I was there.
Yeah, it's great, but it's overwhelming.
It's it's every genre.
Yeah.
So, I was there for that. I just got back from BosCon, which is a science fiction convention in Boston. It's the longest running sci-fi convention in New England.
Yeah.
So it's been around since I think the 1940s.
What's it called again?
BosCon. BOSKONE. Yeah, and it's it's a little bit smaller than Worldcon, which is the oldest science fiction fantasy convention, I think, in the country, and that bops even in the world because it jumps overseas and then comes back and goes overseas. But BosCon's more doable. I go to Worldcon, but BosCon is more local, so I can get there. But I happened to be at the dealer's table because I was selling some of my books, and next to me was a science fiction historian who had collections of, he research, and he just knew all about the genre. And he said, "Oh, you write space opera, which is a sub-genre of sci-fi, which I do."
Yeah.
And he said, "Are you familiar with this other person?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "It's one of the original space operas." And he went to the bookshelves and the people that are selling, the older books and whatever. And he came back with 2 books published in the 1950s by this person,
Yeah.
and he's like, here are some original space opera, in your, vein of what you write.
Yeah.
And he said Boscone was actually named from the enemy empire in these books.
Yeah.
And I was like, I learned something new every time I go to one
You
of
are
these
so
things.
enthusiastic. It shows. I mean, obviously,
I do love my genre.
Oh my God! So this is the first in the trilogy, Horizon. It's sci-fi. And Tabitha, how can they get your trilogy?
So you can order it on Amazon. It's available there. You can also go through my website, tabithalordauthor.com. But it is also available barnesandnoble.com, Amazon. It's ebook, audio, and print version.
Have you been up at Tatnook Bookseller?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I sent all my authors up there. That they love it. It's not only a beautiful store, but they love authors. And they have a large room where you can give a presentation.
Oh, lovely.
Or, if you don't want to do that, you can sit up not far from the checkout counter. They put a little table for you, and you can rock and roll.
Fabulous.
You'll love it. It's right
Hook me
next
up.
door in West. It's right next door in Westboro. I'll write it down for you
Thank you.
before you
Thank you
leave.
very
But
much.
it's an amazing store. Barnes and Noble is great. But Tatnook is good too.
Some of those local smaller ones are just so fun too.
It's
It's just such a nice community. Well, it's a
Yeah.
community based.
Yeah.
Have
Have you been up to Webster to the Book Lovers Gourmet?
Nope,
There's
I've
another
been there
for you.
either. I've mostly
region?
done. I know. Mostly, I do things in what I do more of are Comic-Cons and science fiction conventions because that's where my real readership tend to attend those sorts of things. So I've been to Tampa Bay Comic-Con, I've been out to Chicago for Wizards World, I've been down to Richmond, Virginia. So I do that.
Yeah.
It's more, but I do love like local bookstores,
Oh, yeah.
that are and
Definitely.
I've
You're
done a few
you're
of
on YouTube, so this is going to go. Once you're on YouTube, you're all over the world.
Right.
Okay, so you're going to get even farther than you've gone. But you've got 4 kids. How old is the youngest?
My youngest is turning 18 next month. She's
Oh,
a
so
senior in high school.
self-sufficient.
Yes, very.
And you've got 4.
I do.
What did they think of Mom's books?
Oh, they love it. They're all have an artistic streak in their own right, in addition to the other things that they do, and so they've all read the books.
Yeah.
And my older 2 will actually give me notes. My second son is a screenwriter, and so he will give me really good notes. And my oldest son has just got he was in acting before he enlisted in the military, and so he has an eye for also storytelling, really good storytelling. So I get great notes from my kids. They're inspirational to me.
You read the back of it. How do you pronounce it? Xale Chris?
Kaylee
Chris isn't living. She's surviving. On the run after the genocide of her empathic people, she witnesses a spaceship crash near her hidden camp. And when she feels the injured pilot suffering from miles away, she can't help but risk discovery to save his life. It goes on to talk about Commander Derek Markham. And this idea just came to you.
It did. Well, I had a couple of pieces of ideas that coalesced into this book, and one of I see things in almost scenes in my mind, and I had this recurrent vision. I'm not seeing visions, but playing over in my head, in my imagination, of a ship crashing and a woman who's hiding and saving the pilot, but she saves him with her mind. She's telepathic and empathic. She's a healer.
Yeah.
And I thought, as a medic, a former medic myself and a medical school dropout, I'm like, if I had a superpower, being able to see inside someone's body would have served me well. Is it a
definitely.
stroke? Is it a heart attack? Is it a, what is it? And so I gave her this skill, and I thought that would be really interesting. And I had that piece, kind of swirling around in my head as a start to a good story. And then I thought, okay, but where does she come from? And what are her? And I thought, well, what if her planet was sort of like a hidden planet? It's been off the grid for generations, and what if only some of the people had this gift? What would that do to the fabric of the society? And so of course those that don't have the gift, didn't evolve this way, tried to kill their neighbor, tried to take out their neighbors, were threatened by them, and so she's what's left. Her people, there's only a few left, and they've formed a resistance movement. So I like to say that there's a piece of a World War II resistance movement feel to these books, but also what's going on in the greater galaxy around them. As when the ship crashes, she realizes, oh, he's not from here, and in fact, we were not always from here, and so it loops them back into the bigger picture. So there's the 2 stories sort of kind of running at the same time.
You like this, do you ever watch that show? I saw it tonight. The Osbournes Want to Believe?
No.
Oh, well, you know Ozzy Osbourne.
I do.
Okay, so him and his wife and his son have a show. I think it's on the Travel Channel, I don't know, tonight. And Now, their son, Jack, is a paranormal investigator.
Okay.
For real. And so he has his parents sitting there while he shows them and has them rate on the Woogie Boogie board or whatever what they think of it with the spaceships and all this stuff. What do you think? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's man-made?
Right.
Fascinating. I think you'd love that.
I probably would.
You get a lot of laughs out of it.
I probably would.
Oh, my God.
I'll add it to my lineup.
Oh, gosh. I don't know if do you remember Ozzy?
Oh yeah, no,
you do?
I saw Ozzy in concert. Not when he was with Black Sabbath, but when he had split from Black Sabbath, I did see him. I saw him in 88 in concert.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
He was something before Black Sabbath?
Well, after he was just Ozzy, he toured as Ozzy after Black Sabbath.
Ozfest.
Yeah, so he came not as Black Sabbath in '88. It was just Ozzy Osbourne on tour.
Yeah.
But he did all their songs, of course.
He had a heck of a life. He not too long ago had a very serious accident on his motorcycle.
Yeah.
He could have died, but then he developed a form of Parkinson's. So when you watch the show, you can see that he's not like he used to be.
Sure.
Anyway, we're talking with
Well, none of us are
Lord,
getting any
and
younger,
she
right?
is-
Including Ozzy.
Yeah, I think they're in their mid 70s now. Look at the Rolling Stones.
Saw those guys in concert too, just before COVID. It was amazing.
Yep. And what is
amazing.
his name? Gene Simmons with Kiss.
My husband was a huge Kiss
yeah.
fan, so I'm sure if that is something we could ever do, we'd have to put that on our list.
I
but-
think I liked. I wasn't into Kiss until just a few years ago. I don't know what. He had the show on television. That's how I was kind of drawn into their world. And I think ask your husband who was his favorite.
Yeah, I don't know, but I could ask him. Honestly, there's some bands like that that when you're younger, it's the spectacle, right?
Yeah.
But when you get older, you appreciate the real musical talent that they had.
Exactly.
And you see them differently now. And I when I hear their songs, I'm like, wow, gosh, they really are talented musicians, not just showmen, you know?
Exactly.
So.
Tabitha Lord, she has written the trilogy of Horizon. It's sci-fi. Again, how can they get a hold of you and your book?
The books are available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. They're an ebook, audio, and print. You can also get them from my website, tabithalordauthor.com. And I do send out signed copies. If you order them through my website, you can get signed copies.
This is, I just love the front of it. I mean,
It's beautiful.
It reminds me of in a Star Trek when we were growing up. Well, I was growing up. They would go out in their little, what was that called? The space pod? What was that thing? They'd go out through the garage.
The shuttle or the little shuttle. Take the
garage.
shuttle out.
The shuttle spacecraft. They used to go out through that, and I
Yes.
remember it looking something like this. They have that in Star Wars
They
too.
do. Yep, they do.
Who was your favorite character in Star Wars?
Oh gosh, well, when I was a kid, it was Luke, but as I got older, of course, Han became my,
liked him.
my go-to guy, and I was a huge Star Wars fan.
You liked it.
Yeah, I built the ships. They hung in my bedroom. I had the music played every night at bedtime. John Williams soundtrack.
That's unusual. Did you have brothers?
No,
Sisters?
I had a younger sister.
She wasn't into sci-fi.
No.
Well, while you had those pinned up on your wall, I had stuffed animals and dolls.
She had strawberry shortcake, and I had spaceships. Yeah.
So now your children, and no one so far is a writer like you.
My
right?
second son is a screenwriter.
Okay.
My oldest son also, he was an actor, and I suspect he will go back to that when his tour is over, and he's super talented. He also does write, but he is just as good in front of the camera. Whereas my second son is writing, directing, and he actually wrote his first full-length novel at 12 years old, and it was a complete novel. It wasn't, it was a 12-year-old's writing, but it was absolutely a complete, with an arc, with main characters, with the developing, and it was a project that he did for his 8th grade project, and the mentor said to me, he really does have a knack for this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's getting the kid to believe in themselves.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
And it took me until I was 40 to write a full-length novel, so.
Did you have to convince him you're good?
You know what? He stayed on track. In high school, he knew he wanted to go to film school. He knew he wanted to stay writing, and he just kind of stayed on target and stayed on track.
Is your husband a writer too?
My husband is a musician. He's a business owner, but his art is music. He sings, and he's a singer-songwriter and plays guitar. So all my kids are musicians as well.
Oh, that is really. And so he probably has tours and gigs all over.
He doesn't do. I mean, he owns a business, and we're older now. But he did. He does play bars. He does play. He can throw a band together with his buddies and play weddings and play, events and such. And it's kind of classic rock, so everybody knows all the songs.
There are lots of writers groups in New England alone that are sci-fi groups. You go online and look up Meetup, right? Meetup.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to have you come. I'm sure
I'll
they
go
would.
anywhere. I'm a member of the New England Sci-Fi Fantasy Authors Association of New England, but I'm also the Association of Rhode Island Authors, who puts on the expo. I'm the vice president of that organization. So we have a subset of us that are the sci-fi fantasy writers that tend to go to the Comic-Cons and BosCon and that sort of thing, but there's also, that's an open group.
So you know John and Peter, what's his first name? Sorry. John and her husband and
Steve
Porter.
Steve Porter.
Steve Porter, sorry,
Yes,
Steve.
the former
He's been on
president.
the show too.
Yes.
And they're great. They do the Stillwater Press.
Stillwater Press Publishing, yes.
Did they? I didn't
No.
look.
No.
You didn't. You had another one. There's so many places out there now, the small presses that are starting
Yes.
and been there. How is that different from someone actually self-publishing?
It's a good question. If you truly are self-publishing, then when the book is out, you own every part of it.
Yeah.
So you can pay other people to put it together, to help you with all the different pieces, the cover art, the editorial work, and you can pay for those parts. But once it's all together and out in the world, its entirety belongs to you. Indie presses tend to be the smaller, boutique presses like Stillwater, like World Weaver Press. I have a lot of short fiction published with smaller presses like that, and you often don't get in advance because they don't have that kind of money, but you do get royalties.
Yeah.
But the book, you have signed with them for a certain amount of time that they own rights to that book.
And
It can turn over to you. On the other hand, what they're doing for you is helping to push it out, and they're putting some marketing and energy behind it, or it might be, you get distribution into bookstores.
Yeah.
In the smaller presses, it's good if you don't have a lot of money to put into your own investment, right? So you don't have to lay out the cash up front,
Sure.
and then you're essentially profit sharing. You're getting royalties as they sell the books. So do you. You get money from that. And then the big five, right, are the ones that we know of.
Yeah.
You need an agent to access them.
Yeah.
Often you will get an advance, so you get some cash up front to write them, and then you get royalties once
Well, I was looking
advance
online
pays out.
for self-publishing, and I'd heard through the years that wasn't expensive. Well, I went on it. What's it, a couple hundred? You still have to, you get X amount of books for X amount of price.
You
Okay?
still have to pay. You have to pay for your product, essentially.
How much do you think, how much is that really?
So I retail. These would retail at $15.95, and I think I make $6
Per book.
per print copy. I think, I don't know. It's been so long since I've actually done that arithmetic, but whoever has done the actual printing costs, you do have to pay that out. But what I can do is I can order a batch, and I can take them and I can resell them when they get sold on Amazon or through Barnes & Noble. It's an industry, and if you understand the industry, you can decide which way. There's not one right way. There's the way that works best for your project.
Right.
And I opted to go the indie route with my first book, even though I got 2 contract offers from small presses on it, and I wanted control. I wanted release control. I wanted cover art control. I did pay for an editor, and I paid for my cover artists, and I paid to have all these pieces put together. But I still had a vision for how I wanted it. And now, of course, I've sold short fiction. My next work is going to go out on submission through my agent for one of the different. So it just really depends on your project.
I know that a lot of the authors, most of the authors that I know, a lot of them, and they're very successful, they do it themselves, the self-publishing.
Right.
They don't want to wait for a year to see if they've been accepted. That's a bunch of, to me, BS. Get your book out there, get it, publish it, whatever you want to do, and make sure you have control.
Right.
I love that.
I have control of this series.
Yeah.
Now, the downside is the big marketing push behind you, the getting into the bookstores,
Yeah, but that's why you have a publicist, or if you're good at it yourself.
Sure.
And if they're not good at it themselves, then I say, no problem. And we start local, or as big as they want to go. If you want to go outside of New England, if you want to go to the West Coast, I do the research and say, here's your contact, go for it.
Right.
But only they know their schedule.
Right.
So they do it. We've been talking with Tabitha Lord, and she has written the trilogy beginning with Horizon. And what are the names of the other ones now?
Infinity.
Yeah.
I'll show you. Infinity and Equinox is book 3 and the final in the series.
Okay, they're all 3 of these are going to be downstairs in the Upton Library. If you're out of town, out of state, out of the country, you still can get them on Amazon, right?
Yes, you can get them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. If you're an audiobook fan, they're on ACX, so you can listen to them. I had a great audio what you call the person that does the audio.
Audiobook? You have an audiobook?
Yes, they're
Oh,
all three
good.
on audio.
That's good.
Yes.
I have friends who like audio. I'd rather hold the book.
You know, I too am a reader.
Yeah.
But I also drive a lot. And I'm traveling a lot, and so I have the books that I have picked out on my audio shelf, and they're a really lovely experience. Like right now, I'm listening to Diana Gabaldon's latest Outlander. It's 40 hours on audio, but I don't want it to end. Like every time I get in the car, I pop it on, and I'm like, this is so fun. And I listened to Circe by Madeline Miller, and it was a beautiful production. So I have my special ones that I listen to on audio, and then I have the ones I'm reading that I'm either reviewing or giving the author, on my Kindle, and then I have some paperbacks, so
Yeah. Do you have a pile of do you have a pile of books beside your bed at home?
Yeah.
So when you have to get up in the middle of the night, I stumble over them.
Well, they're on the night table, and then downstairs they're on the side table,
Piled
and then
up?
there's in the library,
Piled up.
piled up.
How do you get over that? How do we heal from doing something
I don't
like
know.
that?
I love my books. They're
I do too.
They're
I
my
can't
friends.
go somewhere without coming out with them. They've got those cute little things in front of people's yards now.
We have one right across
I
the street
love
from our
those.
driveway. The little take one and
Yeah.
leave one. My neighbor built it, and he put it in the common land,
Yeah.
in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the people come by, and it's wonderful.
It
It's such a
is.
lovely little community.
At first I
thing
thought,
to do.
well, if I pull over and I get out and I go up to this, is somebody going to think I'm strange? But no, not really. They
No.
go ahead.
That's what it's for.
And if you don't have a book with you, that's cool. I mean, you all come back and donate or bring it back.
Right.
I love it. I'd love to do it, but I don't have a cupboard or whatever it is. You'd have to build it, right?
He built his. It was a project he did with his son. It was really sweet.
We've got about 3 minutes left. We've been talking with Tabitha Lord, and she would tell you about the Horizon. She's a great sci-fi writer, and she has another book coming up in the spring, hopefully.
Well, it's hard to put a date on that because it's not out on submission yet, but the manuscript is finished. I also do have a lot of short fiction, and if you're on my website and you like short fiction, you can find links to either the anthologies, and some of them are on podcasts.
Yeah.
So they're on sci-fi or fantasy or horror podcasts.
Yeah.
So and those are really fun
And
productions.
you've always
also,
been
too.
interested in it. Even since you were a kid.
Yes.
What'd your parents think?
My dad enjoyed the spacey kind of things too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he was my Star Trek buddy and my go to see Star Wars buddy. So probably I got my love of it from him, but
Yeah.
not really any of my friends were that interested.
No. I don't
Not
think-
really many of my friends.
I took my
growing
mother
up.
to see E.T. I don't know how old I was. Maybe I don't know, but she loved it. Oh,
Good story.
yeah.
Spielberg is a
It
good
was a
storyteller.
cute movie. It really was. There's more coming out though. But I was going to tell you that probably at the authors expos, more and more of the young adults are coming out now with something like sci-fi or fantasy. That's big. I see something in the library that I love the title. I love the cover, and it's fantasy. A lot of that right now.
Yeah, it's
So
popular.
your next one is coming out is a form of fantasy.
It is. It's a little darker.
Yeah. Be on the lookout. You don't want to tell us the name of it yet?
It's titled Dreamwalker, but there's always the possibility that a publisher would change it. So
They're going to change that title?
it's a possibility. I don't know that they would,
It's
but
perfect.
I think so. But
Well, I
you
do
know.
too. Don't let them do that.
Yeah,
Jesus
no,
creepers.
no.
No. It's your book. Good grief. Thank you for being with us. Let me know when the
Pleasure.
next one comes out.
Thank you for
All right?
having me.
And we'll see you next time on Be My Guest.
Riding on a shooting star, heading out toward a dream. Tomorrow's even closer than it seems.